Welcome you on the 14th International Economic Forum, Russia and the Islamic World, Kazan Forum 2023. And I'm going to give my special thanks to all those people attending our extended media session, Russia and the Islamic World, Media Cooperation for Sustainable Development and Economic Prosperity. Our cooperation in the field of media between Russia and the Islamic world started quite a long time ago, but its systemic development, its systemic infrastructure and the dialogue was constructed only a few years ago. And in this respect, the pandemic played a very positive role. It was the pandemic in 2020 that enabled us to hold our first event dedicated to media dialogue and informational cooperation. The co-organizer of this event and the assistant in the organization of our subsequent meetings was the Union of News Agencies of the OIC countries. I am pleased to meet the heads of UNA here at Kazan Forum. My greatest thanks to the hospitable people of Tatarstan that brought us here together. And for quite a long time, we've been discussing questions of informational cooperation, and we discussed them in an online mode. But today, we managed to gather the maximum number of people who were able to come to Russia and to Kazan directly, like this, in an offline session. And what I want to say is that today we're working in a special format. We decided to call it an extended media session because it will consist of two parts. One of them will be dedicated as mass media as the driving force for economic cooperation between countries, and second will be dedicated Russia and the Islamic world through the prism of media cooperation. Besides, we have a pleasant surprise expecting you at the end of our conversation today. This is an agreement between us that we are going to announce at the end of our event. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to present someone without whom we would not have been able to meet. This is someone who helps me to moderate today's meeting. Yunus Inayat, Director for International Cooperations and Strategic Development of the UNA. I see. The floor goes to him.
المعالي والسعادة ممثلي وكالات الأنباء والدول الأعضاء والمنظمات الدولية، أصحاب السعادة الحضور. في البداية أود تقديم الشكر والتقدير للأستاذة آنا بيليكوفا، مستشارة مجموعة الرؤية الاستراتيجية روسيا والعالم الإسلامي، محاضر أول في جامعة موسكو الحكومية، معهد موسكو الحكومي للعلاقات الدولية والأكاديمية الرئاسية الروسية، كبير المختصين في خدمات الاتصالات الخارجية لقناة آرتي الروسية. وسرني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في مستهل المنتدى الإعلامي روسيا العالم الإسلامي، التعاون الإعلامي من أجل التنمية المستدامة والازدهار الاقتصادي، الذي ينظمه اتحاد وكالات أنباء منظمة التعاون الإسلامي اتحاد يونا، ووكالة تات ميديا الجمهورية للصحافة والاتصال الجمهوري في تترستان، بالتعاون مع مجموعة رؤية الاستراتيجية روسيا العالم الإسلامي، بمشاركة إدارة
in the cooperation between the Russian and Islamic world. Also in the cooperation with the Islamic Center of Trade and some other informational agencies. What I would like to say is our organizers, as mentioned by Yunus, are not only the Union of News Agencies of OIC, but also the Republican Agency for Print and Mass Communications Stat Media. These are the heroes of the day. They are here and they put a considerable effort in making this thing happen today. And it gives me great pleasure to give the floor to the General Director of the UNA of OIC, Dr. Mohammed Al-Rabu Al-Yami.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام. سعادة معالي نائب رئيس مجموعة الرؤية الاستراتيجية روسيا العالم الإسلامي، نائب رئيس لجنة الشؤون الدولية الجمعية الفيدرالية.
I would like to greet the deputy Mr. Farid Mohammed, deputy head of the Group of Strategic Vision Russia and Islamic World. I would like to welcome TAT Media, Your Excellencies, dear audience. Allow me to welcome you. May the grace of Almighty be with you. And I would like to begin with a hadith saying that he who does not thank other people does not thank Allah. On behalf of all the state agencies and informational agencies, I would like to extend my thanks to the organizers of this event here in Tatarstan. And I would like to thank you all for your hospitality. I would like to thank my colleagues from other informational agencies from Turkey, from Tunisia, for accepting our invitation to participate in this event. And I would like to thank the General Secretariat of the countries of the OIC and to thank them for the participation and engagement in this event. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you in the beginning of this session in which we are going to discuss some very important points. This is a point of cooperation, of informational cooperation. Cooperation aimed at sustainable development and economic prosperity of our communities. I believe that this extended media session will be of much importance. It confirms the importance of information. It confirms the importance of mass media. Ladies and gentlemen, our union gives lots of attention to the values and the fairness, and we are happy to build bridges with mass media all over the world. And our union enables us to get together for the sake of fighting hatred. And starting from here, we are organizing such events, and we are being involved in them very actively. That helps us to attain our goals. Without doubt, this meeting is the possibility of strengthening the cooperation in the field of news exchanges between news agencies, between the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Russian Federation, and it is also a good occasion to introduce the Russian language into the informational platform that we are creating at the moment. In this way, we will be able to reflect the role of Russia, Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are convinced that the results of this forum will create all the necessary background for a long-term and prosperous cooperation between our organization in the field of economic development, informational cooperation, and provision of business community with the required information. Besides, it will be possible to make our community learn the cultural heritage and the traditional heritage of our respective peoples. This will also bring us together, and we are sure that this cooperation will reflect very positively on the informational practices of the countries of Islamic world and in Russia. And it will also find its reflection in the sphere of informational exchange and experience exchange. The Union of News Agencies declares its full readiness to provide all its platforms, all its resources, starting from educational platforms, informational platforms, to activate these functions. In conclusion of my welcoming address, I would like to reassure you in our readiness to cooperate. We would like to thank Dr. Mohammed Abu Al-Yami, Acting Director General of the Union of News Agencies of the OIC. Building bridges, indeed, is the thing that we're doing. We really want to extend our cooperation for the sake of development and of our respective people against the allow me to give the floor to the director of TET Media and the general director of OSC in Tatarstan, Mr. Eldar Garev. The floor goes to you. Dr. Alami, Farid Mubarakshevich, dear guests, dear friends. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the colleagues from the UNA. Your participation in this event made it very bright, and the standard of communication that we're going to elaborate on today will be continued in the future, and it will assist strengthening of our relations. On a separate note, I would like to say that today's session was prepared in close contact with our colleagues from the federal level. And even though I represent only the Republic of Tatarstan, may I assure you the thoughts and the ideas that we're going to pronounce today at this forum will be heard on the level of on the federal level of Russian media. Once again, we're glad to welcome you on the unique in the very unique region of Russia, Tatarstan. We have more than 140 ethnicities living here on this territory, and we have very rich traditions of cooperation from different backgrounds, from different nationalities and religions. And so the people who were here, they were able to see in how good neighborhood we have temples and churches of various religions, and there is no negative reaction whatsoever. Besides, the Republic of Tatarstan is the historical birthplace of the Tatars, the second biggest nation in the Russian Federation, and the Republic of Tatarstan is the leading region in terms of economy, tourism and culture. We are at the forefront of petrochemical industry, agriculture and machine building as well. I hope that you all will have the most pleasant the most pleasant impressions from your trip to the Republic of Tatarstan, and I hope that you will find it an irresistible desire to come back, and we will be more than happy to welcome you back. Thank you very much for finding the opportunity of coming here and to work here together with us. Within our today's extended media session, we are going to find the answers to the questions as to on what stage is our cooperation between Russia and the OIC, what joint projects and programs we are undertaking, and what we are planning to do in the short and long-term perspective. I hope we will find a common vision for these questions. Thank you. Aydar Saidgarevich, we spoke with colleagues from UNA, and they will claim citizenship from TAT Media. We are extremely pleased, and we are very excited about being here because the Republic of Tatarstan gives us lots of warmth, and we are anxious about giving back some. Yes, let's put it on the agenda. Thank you very much for the organization of this event. Besides our organizers, we have lots of partners. One of the partners here is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, represented by the Department of Informational Cooperation. And Mr. Yunus will tell me who I'm speaking about. Wajdi Sindi, the director of the Department of Communications Department in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, who will have an online presentation because unfortunately one of the members of his family passed away, and so he will have to present online.
So, dear Mr. Farid Mukharamichin, Deputy Chairman for the Group for Strategic Vision and Deputy of Executive Committee of the Russian Federation for the International Affairs, dear Mr. Mohammed Abdulrahmi, dear heads of the information agencies in the Russian Federation, dear ladies and gentlemen, I wish you peace to all of you. For me, it's a great pleasure to participate in this forum. Which is being held at as part of the 14th Kazan Forum, Russia Islamic World. And using this opportunity, I would like to thank the gentleman representing TAT Media, as well as the Union of Information Agencies of the Islamic World, for this excellent organization of the forum here in Kazan. I would also like to thank you for the activization of cooperation between our information agencies. The participation in the enhancement of our cooperation is coming to our peoples, but this is the objective. This is the objective, which is important. Which is an important one for the operation of our entity, in order to identify the common points of interest in our work, as well as in the preparation of conditions that would lay the groundwork for our cooperation. As the Islamic component in the Russian Federation, which reflects the unique culture which is harmonized with the Russian culture, is a unique case which can be extrapolated throughout the continent and which can build humanitarian bridges, especially considering that the Central Asian countries are also yet another link in this geographic and demographic harmonization of Russia and the Islamic world. We hope that by this cooperation we will build active and positive economic cooperation, which will be reflected by the improvement of the living standards of people living in this space. And finally, we must realize that mass media play a crucial role in this process. And in accordance with our strive for the strive in our organization, in accordance with our charter, we imply cooperation between members of this organization, which may be the reason for further integration of peoples of our member organizations in order to attain and to achieve and execute joint projects, both in traditional media and modern media. So this is this plays an important role in the development of the organization that will extrapolate its activity to all of the branches in the Islamic world, which is 9 branches, which would operate, including the Bank for Islamic Development, as well as the Permanent Committee for Development in Istanbul, Turkey, as well as the Islamic Center for the Development in Morocco, as well as the Islamic Chamber of Commerce in Karachi, as well as other bodies and entities which constitute the single one and the same organization, which implies a major responsibility on us in order to integrate with the Islamic world, as well as to leverage all the tools that we have, the information tools that we have at our disposal to enhance this cooperation with not only the Russian Federation. At the end of my welcoming speech, I'd like to express my sincere thanks for this opportunity to speak at this forum in order to achieve our goals, and peace to all of us. Would like to thank Mr. Wajdi, Director for the Information Development of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, as he talked about the importance of the support, of this long-term support of the economic support, and the information support of the Islamic Organization, of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and thank you very much. Well, let me do, Mr. Majdi, are you with us online? Let me express our sincere condolences extend our condolences to you, and we welcome you offline next time in Kazan and or Moscow, because you are a very important person to our relationship, to our cooperation. So we'd like to thank you for your time and everything that you contribute to us. So this gentleman has been was with us last time offline at our meeting, but due to his family tragedy, family, unfortunate occurrence made him speak online. I'd like to give the floor to, for the summary, I'd like to give the floor to the partner of the organizers of this meeting. We're talking about a group of the Strategic Vision Russia Islamic World group. This is a systemic organization that has been working on the Russia Islamic World track for many years already. And so I'd like to give the floor to the deputy chair of the group, Strategic Vision Russia Islamic World, deputy chairman of the committee of the Council of Federation for International Affairs, Mr. Farid Mohamed Sheen. Dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Happy to welcome you here on behalf of the organizers of this media session. So in order to execute the set of activities, the set of objectives of Russia Islamic World, we've been actively engaged with both the reporters, journalists, and the media community. So the Union of News Outlets of the Islamic World are among our partners, as well as the Secretariat of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. I would like to thank all of the speakers representing these entities, and I'm thankful to them for their readiness to further enhance our cooperation and to react to all the urgent issues of today's world. We view the Kazan Forum as an important platform for further enhancement and improvement of this work. We will be developing the forms of cooperation that have shown results, including those as part of the Islamic Reporters and Bloggers Forum, which we hold on an annual basis in various cities of our country, as well as internationally. Fundamental changes are taking place on our planet. The process of a more just, more fair, and multipolar world is in the midst. So the so-called collective West has formed a global information warfare against the nations that do not agree with the hegemony of the West. This to counter this fake campaign, we have to unite and get united in that confrontation. So heads of and journalists from Russia, as well as the Islamic civilization, are doomed to play an important role, a pledge to an important thing which provides for our victory in this is the common vision, as well as the commonality of our moral and religious values. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, tomorrow, on the May 19th, we will hold the next session of the Group for Strategic Vision Russia Islamic World with the agenda of traditional, moral, and spiritual values as the foundation for the sustainable intergovernmental international relations. As part of this session, we will look into further trends and strengthening of inter-religious dialogue and search for the aggressive agenda of the Western community, of the values which are counter to the traditional Islamic values. I believe it's important to counter any attempts by the West to coerce, to force their ultra-liberal views and values, and to fight the religious tolerance as well as Islamophobia, and to encourage tolerance and peace, the values of tolerance and peace. At the same time, we should reinforce the work for the promotion of the best practices of peaceful cooperation and coexistence of the Russian and international mass media. Dear colleagues, the purpose of today's media session is also to discuss the strategy for the execution of our joint practical projects and to form the even playground for and to shape the future cooperation of the Russian mass media as well as the mass media of the Islamic world in the global media space. So let me wish all the best to the participants of this discussion. Wish you all the fruitful ideas, and may the fruitful, mutually beneficial cooperation help this media session, the media community of our countries. And thank you very much. Have good health and wealth and prosperity. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Ms. Markovic. And I'd like to note that this group is, in fact, one of the key players on the media platform for the cooperation between Russia and the Islamic world. I hope we'll be able to see the presentation, in which I'd like to talk a little bit about what's happening in the area of cooperation with the Islamic world. And like I mentioned, the key player is now this group for strategic vision, Russia Islamic world. This group was established in 2014. In 2014, it was headed by Mr. Rustam Minihanov, and in fact, as of 2015, this group has been holding the Forum for Reporters of Muslim Countries. This is an annual venue. So this meeting is normally called a Forum of Journalists of Muslim Countries. Sometimes this title is extended by, let's say, a Forum of Journalists and Bloggers. So perhaps our next meeting will be somewhat modified, taking into account the current realities as well as the new media that they're evolving and that we should take into account in light of cooperation with Islamic countries. This Muslim reporter forums has taken place in different cities of Russia as well as globally. And it's really no big secret that it's proposed to do an extended version of this forum and hold that forum in another place, not in Russia, in some other country. So our cooperation with the Islamic world reporters is on. It's in progress. The meeting. The most permanent meeting took place in 2019, I believe. Yes, it was in 2019. That meeting took place in St. Petersburg, where we welcomed several dozen reporters, journalists from several dozen countries. And so we held a very fruitful discussions that we thought we had to deal with in light of the pandemic, in light of the current crisis in the international relations. And it's not incidental that a so-called Tunisian declaration has been mentioned a few times. So this Tunisian declaration that was adopted at the International Reporter Federation, it became this. It turned to be this key document for our meeting in St. Petersburg. But as it turns out, I think it's still worth talking about the parity and equality in the media space, as well as lack of certain, let's say, quote-unquote steps, inequality that still exists in the media space, unfortunately. But let's talk about parity, let's talk about equality. So we continue to collaborate with our colleagues, and back in 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, together with the UNA, we held this online conference that was dedicated to the first steps that we could take in terms of the media space, mass media space. So our further cooperation continued. We continued this cooperation, and we set up. So we held up this extended venue. In Kazan Summit 2021. It was then called Kazan Summit. Now it's called Kazan Forum. So some of the takeaways was the signature back in 2021 in Jeddah of the cooperation agreement between the OIC and Sputnik Information Agency. I should say that things went downhill from there. I.e., after that in Moscow, we had held a very large-scale event titled "Practical Steps and Their Implementation." We talked then about what was necessary to talk about practically as to what exactly, specifically, we were able to do. So some of these steps was signature of this cooperation memorandum between the Union of News Agencies of OIC and the Video Information Agency, Irakli. Today, we have the chance to welcome Irakli that enjoys this anniversary. It's Jubilee this year, but we'll do this a bit later. I'd like to give the floor to finalize our welcoming session. I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Nayad, who for sure has something to add to what I have already said.
في البداية نتقدم بالشكر والتقدير للسادة.
First and foremost, allow me to thank Madam Belikova, a specialist with a fantastic relation to the Islamic world, who is giving us all the necessary information. And I would like to thank her for such a beautiful presentation of the cooperation between the Russian Federation and the OIC in the sphere of informational exchange. I would like to dwell on a couple of points here. First of them, dear ladies and gentlemen, in the UNA, the UNA is one of the tools of this organization that works for the promotion of informational exchange between our union and Russia. The first thing is that the organization of informational forums, for the sake of going around all the obstacles. The latest forum was taking place in Moscow last December, and it gathered a lot of journalists from Moscow, from Russia, and from Islamic world. Second, an increase of informational exchange between the UNA and the colleagues in Russia, which is expected to result in an improved understanding between Russia and the Islamic world. And so we signed 2 MOUs. And we are going to sign a protocol of intentions together with the TASS agency. We're going to streamline the informational links to familiarize ourselves with the achievements, cultural and economic achievements of our countries. Point 4, the organization of informational releases in order to prevent the radical rhetorics and to strengthen the possible adaptation to the new conditions, as well as to organize the courses and roundtable meetings for the improvement of this cooperation. Besides, we're going to have a roundtable meeting that will be organized together with RAPTLI, which focuses on the video information exchange in international scale. I believe that that such a connection, which is taking place right now here in Kazan, is probably the possibility for improvement cooperation in various areas, including organization of various informational economic platforms and and for giving the information to the business community, as well as organizing joint forums for business people. And in conclusion of this speech, I would like to say that in our union of news agencies, we welcome strengthening of links with all countries and with all agencies worldwide, including the informational unions. And in this way, we will be able to participate. I would like to thank Wajdi Cindy, who joined us online, but I believe next time we will see him in person. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite our next panel of speakers. I think we will help our organizers change the nameplates, and then we will continue. My pleasure to invite our speakers.
Ну что ж, спасибо, дорогие друзья, за то, что сегодня вы...
Thank you very much, dear friends. And we are moving on to the first panel section. This panel section is called Mass Media as the symbol of sustainable development between our countries. As I have already mentioned, with each our meeting, we're trying to move to more and more practical and feasible projects and steps. So what we try to do today is to have several topics for discussion. We are going to discuss specific achievements and discuss specific proposals for our cooperation. So if our colleagues have a possibility to share their experience, share their projects, I would like them to tell in the first place what has already been done and what can be done further on. So our format of work will be as follows. So we all have headsets and we all hear the interpretation. So we suggest each of our speakers to make a brief presentation on this topic, considering the key points that I enumerated. And then I will ask the colleagues in the room to join our dialogue. I know there are some people who have some prepared presentations. So So the format of our work is as follows. Each of our speakers will be given 5 minutes to make an answer to the key points of this session. After that, as a moderator, I will ask and answer questions and comment what has been said so far. And our colleagues in the room, please join our discussion. So allow me to introduce our participants. The Secretary of the Union of Journalists of Russia, Timur Shafir, General Director of Iraq News Agency, Sattar Jiyad, President and General Director of Tunisian agency Tunis Afrique Press, Najih Messawi, the General Director of Islamic Center for Development of Treatment, Latif El Babdullawi. First, I'm going to give the floor to Timur Shafir, because the Union of Journalists of the Russian Federation supports all the events dedicated to informational cooperation with the Islamic world. And I spoke about the organizers, I spoke about the partners. The Union of Journalists has been the participant and the partner of many of our events, including those held online and offline. So I'm giving my thanks to Timur Vladimirovich for his immense contribution to our work, and it gives me pleasure to give him floor. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you for the opportunity of not only being present here at the Expo Center of the beautiful springtime Kazan, but also for the possibility of seeing some very important things, some very important retrospective that you showed in our presentation. How long a way we have come together. The journalists of Russia and journalists of the Islamic world in a very brief period. The brief period which encompassed so many events which are changing the outlook of the entire world. I was looking at this presentation and thinking that, first of all, we did quite a lot together. Second, that there is still more to be done in the future. And thinking that the world has changed, I decided to completely change the tone of my speech. And I decided to tell you a couple of things about what will be the focus of our session today. So what is to be done next, what our next steps would be, what our next projects would be, I think it's quite self-explanatory and it's quite evident. What we see today, several signed MOUs between news agencies. We have identified the main points of cooperation and main points of strengthening our interests between journalists of Russia and the Islamic world. We have identified some important points as creating joint platforms and active use of the Russian language in the Arabic mass media and vice versa. So, considering that centralized cooperation and joint work in our informational links is continuing, using the amassed experience that we have and using the ideas that we all have, I would like to suppose the following. Apart from the agreements between UNA and our agencies, I would like to suggest to use our organizations as the basis and using their knowledge, their experience and infrastructure of the Union of Journalists. May we start working on the permanent journalist club, which might be based in Moscow at first. Some working events of this club may take place in Kazan or abroad, but such standing platforms with the possibility of running not only large-scale forums, but also some local meetings, trainings, seminars, language courses for Arabic journalists, for Arabic students who come to Moscow, and for Russian journalists who consider it important to work with the Islamic world. So this is my proposal. I would like to make it a point on behalf of all of our colleagues at the Journalists Union of Russia, and I hope that this might become the next starting point on the basis of which it will be possible to continue this current operation, this current work. Thank you. And we would like to thank you, Timur. Indeed, I believe this is very important. This is a very constructive thought. We have the Union of Journalists of Arabic countries, and in Iraq, I visited Iraq quite recently, and the Union of Journalists is working there. And one of the directors of this union is here with us. Besides, we can use the capacity of UNA and connect more Islamic countries to this movement. But I would like to think more about the unions of the Asian countries. So what we want to do is to cover a large territory with our cooperation. Mr. Shafir used to be the vice president of the International Journalists Federation. I think that the format of the club that we are working on, it could be extrapolated quite fast. It could be extrapolated to the Union of Journalists of Eastern and Asian countries. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to mention, dear colleagues, that we have this translation only in Russian and in English, and the colleagues want to make a little pause. I will give the floor to Yunus. In the Arabic language, I would like to shorten down the topic of the first session, and it will spell economic cooperation between the countries. In this way, we will have some key questions. Strengthening of media in Islamic countries. We will discuss the achievements we have already reached so far. And people watching this translation on YouTube in the English channel, please feel free to leave your comments. Please feel free to give your suggestions for large-scale projects and our subsequent steps to improve and strengthen our relations. Of course, we will have the possibility, and you will have the opportunity to give your own feedback and to speak out your proposals on development of relations. And Timur Vladimirovich has just said his word about this, so may I say what will happen once we have signed our agreements and memoranda. My suggestion is for Mr. Shafir, who proposed starting a journalist club, which will be a continued operation with headquarters in Moscow. Its goal would be to develop our relations, and much in the same way, we will continue organizing excursions and training sessions for our younger journalists, and in that way we will be able to develop the journalism and solve the problems of journalists in Arabic countries. So for me it will be a pleasure for me to give the floor to Sattar Jiyad, General Director of the Iraqi News Agency. In the name of Allah, Allah be praised. First of all, allow me to give my appreciation for being present here on behalf of the Iraqi News Agency. It is a great pleasure to be representing Iraq on this forum, one of the most important forums, or maybe the most important forum dedicated to cooperation between Russia and the Islamic world. My suggestion, I will give you a brief snapshot of what the Iraqi News Agency is. It was organized in 1958. It was the second biggest news agency in the Arabic world. It was speaking Arabic, English, Turkmeni, Kurdi, and Syrian languages. I will take this opportunity to try and express our desire to be open in all aspects of life, specifically in openness and transparency in relations with the Russian Federation and the countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. I express our complete readiness to uphold all the goals of this forum, to cooperate with all the agencies in Russia and OIC. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Oh, thank you very much, dear Mr. Sattar. Or in fact, Iraqi mass media not only have this major potential for growth, but also the rich past. It's worth noting that the first TV in the Arab countries was in Iraq. When I studied this, when I learned about this for the first time, I got surprised. But it's in fact the case. And we do have extensive experience cooperation back in the Soviet times, the cooperation between the Soviet Union and Iraq in mass media space. And I think it's worth continuing, just as the development of new projects. And I should say that considering that the Iraqis were the first in the television space in the Arabic countries, the first information news agency on the African continent was the one established in Tunisia for the first time. It was then called African News Agency. That's what it was called in French. Historically, this name remains. It's the brand. It's a brand that is here today. It not only does it have the reputation in its own country, but also across the Northern African and the Middle Eastern space. And I take the pleasure in giving the floor to our next speaker, i.e. President and General Director of the Tunisian News Agency, Najah Moussaoui.
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much for this excellent introduction of the Tunisian News Agency. Anna Belinkova, who's a counselor to the relationships of the Russo-Arab relationships. I'd like to thank the General Director of the Union of the Islamic countries and all the any representatives here, that are here today with us, as well as all the participants. Thank you very much for being here today with us and for tracking this session. I'd like to also thank the Republic of Tatarstan, as well as all of the organizers, as well as, of course, the Russian Federation, all of the organizers for setting up, for organizing this forum, which is a bridge between Russia and the Islamic world. And of course, on behalf of all of the Tunisian News Agency, just like Ms. Belikova said, it's the oldest, in fact, it's the oldest news agency in the African world. So I will gladly give you the brochures that give you an idea about our organization, about our union, our news agency, and of course, I'm the director of this agency. I've been the director for more than 2 months only. So what happened after the Tunisian Revolution back in 2011, we were converted from the government agency into a free press agency that talks about the liberties and the freedoms. So for this work has not been easy for this Tunisian news agency, but it had an impact on all of the other 5 news agencies in Tunisia that at the time had worked under the patronage of the state, disguised as the so-called public news agencies. So I'd like to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you from all the reporters and journalists working and located and working in Tunisia. Of course, this is from the official standpoint. I'd like to thank you and extend our thanks to the Russian Federation. So which role does the Russian Federation play in order to combine the two worlds, Russia and the Islamic world? And let's not forget the role of the Islamic Center, the Islamic Agency, which is the quote-unquote translator of this role and of the mission, and that helps promote our relations. And as General Director of the Tunisian News Agency, which acts under the umbrella of this union, we are engaged in the development of these technologies, and the issues that we're facing or may be facing, all the wars and other calamities, all of those issues can be tackled together. Of course, reporters, journalists, and agencies aim not only to report the news, tell the news, but also to play a vital role in achieving peace in this land, and to counter the aggression. Of course, we all know that this union, the Islamic Union, includes 57 comprises 57 nations. So I would like our role to be invariably successful in terms of the journalism as well as, of course, the economy. We know that Russia has always been one of the prevailing, one of the leading countries in terms of technology. So, us being an Islamic state, an Islamic organization, we take this into account, and we will. So at the summit, at this forum, we will be talking about our opinions, our views on all of these achievements of the Russian Federation. I'm sure all of you know about the so-called fake news, or the false news that are disseminated. But we, being a recognized and well-reputed agency, our mandate is to tell the truth, is to relay the truth. And I will not take much more of your time. I'm wrapping up. So in 2017, the Tunisian agency was formed, and so for all these years we have been fighting for the freedom of speech, the freedom of rights, and we have 150 reporters working for us and more than 140 branches across Tunisia. So since this so we'll leave this We believe this mass media agency, this news outlet, news agency, is aimed at protecting the freedoms of humans. It's not an opposition mass media. We aim to further develop ourselves, to reform ourselves in order to give people, to provide them with the right to information, the right to the news, and to ensure that such news, such information complies with the current laws of Tunisia, as well as we'd like to follow up in the innovations, in the creation of news, dissemination of news. We strive to use all the latest technology in the mass media space, and the end goal is for us is to fairly compete with our colleagues and counterparts in the mass media space, and to discuss the new topics, the new trends. I would like to collaborate with the Russian news agencies, with the Russian TV channels, considering that our news agency has vast experience in this area. I will not take more of your time, considering that we're pressed to that, and I'd like to refer it back to you. Thank you very much. We have many ideas as to what we can do now. I'd like to mention that Mr. Naja, prior to heading this agency, prior to that, he had been working as a reporter, as a TV journalist, TV reporter. So our colleagues that are television reporters I'm sure, will join us in the next session. I'm sure they'll be interested in learning about this, because I understand that your news agency will be developing television or televised projects as well. We would like to thank Dr. Naja Han for his speech, for his presentation, and in our union of the news agencies, we will promote and support him in his vision, in his vision, and in his strive to execute his vision when it comes to the public news media. We will be your right hand, if you will, and to ensure the international mass media with support. We'd like to thank you for the role of mass media is not only to transmit the news, to relay the news, disseminate the news, but also to relay the meanings, to disseminate the meanings, and to counter intolerance. And this not only has to do with the Tunisian news agency, but we'd like to also talk about the achievements of all the other news agencies of the member states. Those that we have signed our agreement with, and we are proud to say that our union is the platform for countering the challenges, the current challenges, as well as the platform for a more harmonized vision and our worldviews, our standpoints. And we also would like to thank you for the information that there will be an award ceremony, so the award ceremony. Let's hold this at the end of the session. Would like to give the floor to Dr. Latifa El Wabdelwala, who's General Director for the Islamic Center for Trade. We invited her to talk to us about how this entity is able to support the sustainable development of mass media on the international arena, and how we are able to invest in mass media in the Islamic states, how one can derive economic benefit from the operation of mass media, news agencies, and other news outlets. The floor is yours, please. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. Thank you for the organization. At the beginning, I'd like to thank the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and all of the organizers of this forum. It's a very important forum indeed. I'd like to confirm that to say that the organization of this forum, both being an economic forum and the one that touches upon other aspects, is very important. So I'd like to say a few words about the Center for the Development of Trade. It's a dedicated center. We're independent from the Union of it's headquartered in Morocco. Our objective is to further and enhance trade and investment between the Islamic Union countries and those of our partners, as well as other countries, including the Russian Federation, which has strong and sustainable economic relations with. Of course, the development of trade and investment is impossible without journalism, without the reporters. Journalism plays such roles as it helps promote our center, helps us develop our work and helps our stakeholders, and thereby they help develop small businesses, SMEs. And journalism is also responsible for the development of ordinary people, common people. So it's considered to be one of the main principles for ensuring foreign direct investment in the stakeholders in the member states. Journalism and mass media, responsible mass media, are part of ensuring the dialogue, both political and any other type of dialogue, of involvement of people, involvement of the public, which ensures sustainable development. Mass media also are responsible for the improvement of transparency and in the operation of public agencies and outlets, which helps improve the public life, generally speaking. So the public news media are also the stakeholders in the development of economic activities in the area of marketing and such services as tourism, for example. We're also in the development of trade and commerce, and we'd also wish that information agencies of these countries are a sustainable platform for the promotion of investment in our countries, for promoting investment in the information space, in the areas of information, the areas of public opinion studies, as well as the studies of commercial relations, which would enable our countries to benefit from and leverage the opportunities that other countries also provide. It can also mass media or news agencies can also help disseminate culture as well as cultural exchange. 51 countries are members of the OIC, as well as observer countries. So these are the countries located in the 4 continents, which speaks for yet another role of mass media is strengthening of cultural ties between these countries and these continents, which enables. So for this development to become sustainable, mass media must be responsible. They must be objective. Mass media must help further understanding between nations and peoples. And to achieve our objectives, our goals, we must ensure free and responsible mass media. And information agencies of these countries must relay truthful information, and they must have credibility and trust in their own countries. This is what pertains to sustainable development when working with the UN. I'm talking about the issues of poverty, the issues of good education for all nations, for all peoples. We're also talking about sexual equality, or gender equality. Yet another objective has to do with social fairness, or equal opportunities. So these are the opportunities that the mass media can help with. Responsible media can do that, but we also have challenges, and we have the risks that, like my colleague my Tunisian colleague has already mentioned. We do have risks that and the challenges that we must counter, that we must take into account and counter and overcome. I should say that this distortion of facts, falsification, these are the challenges, as well as concealment of truth in order to achieve certain subjective goals. Lack of transparency can subject markets to certain hazards, etc. We should also counter fake news, combat fake news, because news agencies can publish fake news that can result in market fluctuations, which can result in changes in the market prices, as well as the success of the successes of information processes. So mass media can have an impact on market trends, which can be reflected negatively, and which can have adverse consequences, and can even lead to the lack of, or even it can break stability on the markets and even nations. So mass media are able to obtain secret or confidential information as well. So these are all the risks that we face and the challenges that we face that we should take into account and that we should counter in order for mass media to news media to be for the benefit of exporters, of investors. And summing up, I would like to emphasize that to say that our center has been working hard on the development of cooperation with all of the news agencies in the OIC countries. And I'd also like to remind you that we signed an agreement with the Union of Information Agencies of OIC countries. This cooperation is aimed to increase the level, to enhance our cooperation by way of working via the information and economic platforms, via the economic agents that serve our nations, that work for the benefit of our nations, OSCE country nations and partner countries. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Latifa, for your very kind and very valuable proposals and for your readiness to cooperate. Since we are running out of time, I'm going to move to the question and answer sessions, and I would like to ask all of the speakers here. I can see that we have representatives of universities here. In our section that we ran in December 2022, dedicated to the cooperation in education in the informational media, we had the Astrakhan State University, and I would like to greet Konstantin Alexeyevich Markelov. He is doing some tremendous work together with the Faculty of International Policy of the Moscow State University. He is doing some tremendous work for pre-training up-to-date specialists with teaching them to work with information media diplomacy. And I would like to ask this from our speakers. How much are you ready, to what extent are you ready to cooperate with universities? Speaking about cooperation with agencies and media, we will be talking about that in the second part of our talk. But educational programs, I think that is something that we can do right now. I think that many of you here are teachers, tutors. How good are you prepared for such cooperation? A lot has been said about facts verification and prudent preparation of specialists. How much are you prepared to do so from your side? Some specific projects. Will you be prepared to work as a speaker in master classes? So this is a brief question to all of our speakers. Timur Vladimirovich, you are first. Well, to put it briefly, this is not just something needed. And I'm speaking not only about the traditional faculties of journalism, both in Moscow, in Nizhny Novgorod, and St. Pete. These are the priorities of our external cooperation and our work. So I am all for it. Unfortunately, I have only 2 hands, but I am voting for. Thank you very much. I know that Yuna is also working with that. In the beginning, I would like to tell you that this is indeed a very important idea. Universities and faculties can play a major role in the organization and development of journalism. I had experience of teaching, so I can say that the practical classes are extremely important, and this is not only my opinion, this is what the OIC thinks. And I'm sure that a practical class in Russian universities and the way they train their graduates and the way they prepare international mass media, not only local media but also international media, and what chances they give to their graduates, we can learn from all that, and we can hand over those skills in different countries. For instance, Russia could train specialists who would be able to work in African countries. And starting from that, we can learn. We can use your experience and your knowledge, and we could cooperate with them as well. So, for example, we could simply train a team of journalists with from various nationalities with different knowledge about different nationalities. So, for example, we can have a team which would be specializing on Arabic world, and there would be another team working with the African world. So, yeah, I can see Maya Manna, RT Arabic. Dear colleagues, if you have time for questions, we have only 1 minute. Oh, thank you very much. I will be working during our next session, but your proposal is something special, so I had to speak something about that. So what I would like to begin with is the summit Russia-Africa, which is due to start in July. RT Arabic is now working on it. We're working with Arabic countries. We're discussing delegations of professional journalists. But it will be a great idea to invite students. And we, as a TV channel, the RT Arabic, we will be able to provide all this costly part, the cameras, the equipment, and we will be able to show the students and to give them a hands-on try to have a go at this in some very real setting. So such initiatives, you propose this, and we are ready to help. Let's do it together. Let's not postpone it until some next year. Let's strike the iron while it's hot. In the evening, I'm having dinner with these two young people, and I really want to say, I would really like to anticipate. I really want to sign the agreement between UNA and RT Arabic. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for your working on this topic. We also have a surprise in the middle of our section. I would like to thank all of our speakers. Thank you for participating in this section. And we have a surprise, a gift, and an anniversary. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as the African continent is concerned and its development, developing countries and so on, the tools of journalism, we will have a talk about this in the evening, and I think we will develop a campaign, and we will think about a team of journalists which requires some practice, some study visits, and yes, we will be able to talk about that. Thank you, Maya, and thank you, UNA, for supporting my initiatives. You are the rock upon which our world is standing. And now, the surprise. It gives me pleasure to invite the participant of our next session. Dear colleagues, you can take places in the hall. This is a gift that we promised, and now very quickly. Yeah, this is a token of friendship on behalf of our agency. That's the symbol of Tunisia. We would like you to accept this from the hands of the General Secretary of our organization, of OAC. And I would like to ask to prepare the nameplate for our next speakers. Apart from the gifts, we also have a anniversary. This anniversary is being celebrated through the entire year, and it's very important for us because we all have to do something with this anniversary. It's 10 years of Raptly. Indeed, I am extremely proud to have been a part in some parts of Raptly and in creating Raptly. But working at RT, we have always been supporting Raptly. Even at the very beginning, even at the outset, a few people believed that we would be able to implement this project. Currently, it's not only launched, it's extremely successful. Raptly now occupies a very decent place in the international arena. And I'm very proud to say that within 10 years of time, you can achieve a lot if you believe in yourself and if you are not afraid of anything. And the most important thing is that you try new technologies, you try new methods of work, despite that many people would try to discourage you. Whereas in the long term, you are successful. It gives me extreme pleasure to give the floor to the to the CEO of Raptly, our video information agency, Dinara Toktasunova. Thank you very much for your kind words. And thank you for the opportunity to present here. I would like to thank Anna and Yunus for your strategic vision. I don't know, after this session, I really want to create something, to invent new things, because your vision is extremely broad, both within this session and within the description of our work. I will tell you a couple of things about Raptly. You probably know it, but it will take me just a couple of minutes to tell you what Raptly is, and then we will have an opportunity to get to know each other even closer. Raptly is a multimedia news agency which is a member of the RT family. This year we're turning 10 years old, and within this period we amassed about 2,000 customers. 180 of them are lifetime clients. They are full-time subscribers of our VOD library. 35 of them are from the OIC member states. And we are very happy about that. For us and for our VOD library, we have about 3,000 video journalists all over the world, and we give approximately 150,000 videos on demand, which vary from informational to viral, and we will bring them to your newsroom. All the videos that you saw in these presentations are our exclusive videos, including extortion of Julian Assange from the embassy of Ecuador in the UK. We were the first to make this exclusive footage and to spread this video all over the world. What we're trying to do is to cover the stories which are not covered in the mainstream Western videos, and we do it all over the world, including Western countries, including Central Asia and everywhere else. So we're fans of technologies. We're very young. We're only 10 years old. Our competitors are older than us. We wanted to become a digital agency at the outset, and we try to keep up with the current times. We really want to deliver our material to our end subscribers. We want to help our customers in the most efficient way. The product that we've been proud of is our live streams and live videos. We can make 6 or 7 live streams at the same time, and this is what we're trying to do sometimes. We translate all the important videos to the Russian, English, Spanish, and Arabic. And if we turn out to be at the point of breaking news, we immediately make a translation, a broadcast from mobile phones, from special backpacks. Then we have satellite dishes. From the very first moment of the event, we try to start our broadcasts. By disseminating this information, we help our customers to spread these broadcasts using our live platform. You just only need to make a couple of clicks to send the broadcast to your favorite social networks, and it immediately starts getting likes, clicks, and so on. Our another product is Repli Verification Unit, or Repli VU, our verification tools. Probably from the times of the Syrian conflict, it became clearer and clearer that there are lots of informational hoaxes, videos that go viral. We had understood that even before fake news became the word of mouth. So what we're doing, we're using open instruments and developments of our own in order to understand whether or not the video is authentic. We are using geolocations, we use picture matching, satellite mapping, and so on. So every video that we sign for, we know that it's authentic and that it is accurate. Not only we do it ourselves, we also want to teach our customers to verify the videos themselves, because we believe that this is important. Yesterday we had this story. It flew around all the international mass media, and probably you saw it, about the guy who allegedly stayed after the Syrian earthquake. No, it was a fake. It was an old video, and we managed to identify this using our tools. So we spread the word. Yunus today said that we're going to continue our cooperation. So what we will do, we will make a seminar dedicated to verification, and we will tell the UNA members what we can do and what each journalist can do in their work to share the experience, so to speak. Besides, a few words about our content. Well, Repli is probably the first, but no, it's the main video agency in Russia. We give lots of attention to our videos. We're represented in all the Islamic regions of the country, and you can see here the Eid al-Fitr, the way it was celebrated in Kazan. I fly over the Moscow Cathedral Mosque, the Islamic hockey tournament in Kazan, and the flight in a balloon over Kabardino-Balkar Republic, the highest point of Europe. In Central Asia, we are also trying to find the most interesting things. Eid al-Fitr in Kyrgyzstan, fly over the central square, In Turkmenistan, we are looking at the factory of camel wool and the way it is produced. In Uzbekistan, production of silk paper and beautiful, beautiful videos of pink flamingos in Kazakhstan. Since historically we have been located in Europe, we always try to find the materials which would be interesting for our customers in Europe. The clashes against Islamophobia in France, the celebration of Muhammad's birthday, where the Pakistani community celebrated the Prophet Muhammad's birthday celebration, the opening of the new mosque in Hamburg, we also try to get exclusive access to some Middle Eastern regions and in Northern Africa. For example, the earthquake in Syria and in Turkey. It so happened that that Western mass media spoke only about the earthquake in Turkey because the access to Turkey was easy. But our journalists in Syria had a very massive coverage of the deadly earthquake in Syria, and we helped to spread this information around the world. In Sudan, we have been covering the recent conflict in Khartoum. We covered the annual Tulip Festival in Iran. We've been following closely the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and we covered the celebration on the ruins in the war-affected areas. And of course, we're trying to be in the now with the highly technological and cultural events in such countries as UAE, at the Museum of Future and Dubai, the solar energy project in Yemen, the architectural lightning at Petra in Jordan, which brings more attention to this masterpiece, and the launch of the satellite in Iran. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for your attention. I hope we will get to know each other better, and as I said, we will be happy to cooperate with UNA and with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dinara. In fact, we are very thankful to Rapli for our chance to obtain current, up-to-date information, videos, and from all around the world. Obviously, it's important to have plurality of views in video, in the video format. You can say anything, but the video is video. But it turns out that videos may be different. And so what Rapli is developing, has been developing since its inception, is they have been the pioneer in terms of the verification of data, first and foremost video information. Of course, Dinara was rather humble. They verify data in general. They have developed the whole system. So this verification has been done by Rapli, for more than 7 to 8 years. So much earlier they began doing this, much earlier than we started this debating, talking about fake news. And I believe we should praise them for being the first ones. Second, we should say that Rapli is still a young agency, a news agency, not just in terms of age. They just turned 10, but they're young in terms of the resources, the human resources they have. So believe me, any initiative, any proposal for cooperation is invariably discussed and welcomed. I've been around the world, and when people tell me we want to cooperate with Ripley, I relay their contacts, and they're in touch a few minutes later. So I'm really happy, and I take pride in that we now have this agency, the agency that provides us with this diversified, this objective view of the world, and secondly, they're able to verify data, the video data, and as well as the tools that help us verify information. Ripley is first and foremost engaged in the dissemination of such information, of such knowledge. They don't conceal things. On the vice versa, they disseminate information, and they run master classes. The next one will be, I'm sure, with Dinara. Thank you very much once again. Of course, we'd like to thank Dinara for the presentation that we have just seen, that we have just heard. The Ripley Video Agency. I'd like to talk about this agency. They're headquartered in Berlin, and they have a branch in Moscow. And very soon, in order for the development in the Middle East, they will open yet another branch in Abu Dhabi, in UAE. So Ripley just turned 10, and it provides video information from various countries of the world. They feature more than 2,000 reporters that relay information from anywhere in the world, and that information, that data, the video material can be transmitted from just about anywhere from in the world, and such materials immediately are uploaded on the website. Well, we'll have a workshop together with Ripley because they're able to provide and teach practical skills as to how to identify authenticity of a video or authenticity of any news per se. So this workshop will be there to educate us how to identify authenticity of any information, specifically video information. And I'd like to confirm that Ripley's not only does not only provide information with conventional cameras, but they provide data from various other tools, including UAV, so they can provide video from different media, and they can verify information. I think I repeated myself, but let me make sure that people understand that I wanted to talk about this. I think we now have the new speakers, and I'd like to give the floor to our speakers for the next session. I'd like Dinara to stay here, and I hope Dinara also has. Let me give the floor to Asa Samuelova and Asa Samuelova, Erman Yüksel, and Zaman Al-Zakhani. So, dear friends, let's move on to our second subsession, which is the final one. Last but not least, it's called Russia, Islamic World, Media Cooperation for Sustainable Development and Economic Prosperity. Let's talk about the past and the present. So the key topics for discussion are the history of relations between Russia and the Asian and Middle Eastern countries, modern cooperation in the media space between Russia and Muslim states, Muslim countries, in the area of news media, as well as proposals for the intensification of this cooperation. So I'd like to ask those watching us to get engaged in this dialogue, in this discussion. So I hope at the end we will have the time to put forth your proposals and to ask your questions. And I'm happy to give to present our speakers. Head of RT Arabic, Maya Manna, Narman Excel, and head of Russia Today Media Collaboration, Isis Samolova, head of the Department for International Cooperation, and the Director for International Relations of the Iranian News Agency, IRNA. And just my other speaker, my friends, is the head of Repli. I will not, Ms. Dinara Tokstasunova, I will not welcome her again. So she's humble as well, that she said that we are inviting students, among others, to train them, to educate them, but I should say it is the Arab channel that runs unique sessions, runs unique training sessions, as well as trainees, to teach them, to educate them and practice. We often face the situation that in journalism we either have the international experts who are specialized in IR, international relations, or the linguists who are experts in foreign languages. So some people apply this in everyday life, some don't. So our channel helped our students, and for years RT Arabic has been conducting such traineeships, such training sessions for students, so that such students oftentimes become full-time reporters. So Maya supported this educational initiative because she's been engaged in this for a long time. So I'd like to give the floor to Maya first, because she's already engaged in the dialogue. So Maya Mana is head of the RT Arabic. Thank you very much. I think I stormed into this session, and it's a huge honor for me to be here. It's my first time in Kazan, my first time at this forum, and I'd like to welcome this forum, and I'd like to congratulate this forum on becoming a federal level forum. So I'm sure next year we will have the crowds of people, hordes of people next year, but because we will have the time to be even better prepared for our guests. The student topic and the partnership issue, and this cooperation within the Islamic world, the Islamic world that wants to cooperate with Russia and promote Russia as never before. For us, as the Arabic channel, it's very topical for our team in general, and for us in particular, because the war is raging now, not just for Ukraine, as the West tries to portray this information through the prism of Russia trying to conquer part of the Ukrainian land. This is the narrative, the Western narrative. If you look at this globally, the war, the civilization war, has been raging on between the West and the West that wants to cut off all of their traditional and family values, the wholesome family values, and to keep us and to take out our heritage, cut us from the other from the rest of the world, including the Islamic world, for which the traditional values are exceptionally important. For the generation of my parents, it's quite clear as to where the truth is, as to on which side the truth lies. For the youth, for the students, as well as for high school students, I think there's space for the interpretation as to what is right and what is wrong. Do we really need these traditions? Do we really have to fight for the family values that Russia has been so vocal about, including the President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Putin, in each of his address? So the youth, these young hearts, are the battlefields for where the symbolic war is being waged, is being fought. And we, as the Islamic organization, part of the Islamic organization, have excellent relations with public news media. We have a number of memoranda. We share our content, and now we talk about the interaction with universities, engaging students, running internship programs. So I was fully for this because I wanted to implement this, execute this. So from idea to execution, sometimes it takes years. We don't have the luxury We don't have this time. We must move swiftly. We must cut the so-called red tape, and we should use whatever we have as leverage. So what IT offers is we want to propose collaboration with universities, and we want to help regional mass media in the education of their future journalists as well as their staffers. So for the 16 years, we have formed an excellent team. We've put together an excellent team. We're active in social media, our Arabic website. We've been ahead of Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya in terms of the coverage online. So we have the experience that we're trying to somewhat modify, because on the internet there's quite a bit of fight against our channel because we've been cut off the European channels. We were cut off of our YouTube channel has been closed or cancelled. The Western satellites also canceled service. Google News is the backbone of each and every, let's say, news search for any reporter. So they have been, they've been suffocating us. They've been fighting against us, and so our expertise, our ability to achieve phenomenal results on these Western platforms, the ones I mentioned, we oftentimes ignore them. We don't use them. So we're looking for alternative ways to grow and evolve. We collaborate with VK, the Russian social media platform. We can share this with other news outlets. For example, those that are active on YouTube and Facebook. This is a colossal, huge resource. So our audience uses these Western resources. We're not there. So let's help you, our friendly mass media, grow and develop in the niches where we have the know-how and the experience of how to become successful, how to be successful, how to overcome Western news outlets on their platforms using their tools. So this know-how, while we still need them, while they're updated, and while our colleagues need them, we're prepared to share them with our colleagues, prepared to run workshops, trainings. We share the content, but we just recently launched a button on the website so each and every person can download any RT content and publish that content on their social media channels or wherever else. In the past, we have been fighting this. We have been saying it's copyrighted material. Don't do this. Now we say, go ahead, use it, download it, disseminate our viewpoint. Generally, here's the video, take it and tell the people as to what's happening. From any standpoint, key thing is you have to, we share real facts, authentic information. So we've been using this. We want to share this experience with our friendly news outlets. And I'd like to give a special thanks to those who dared to come, who was brave enough to come to Russia in this difficult time and to speak at this forum. I know for sure that it takes bravery to come here. You have to be somewhat audacious to be here. And our guests that walk past the RT logo, they are oftentimes regarded negatively by the Western media. It's because it's not fashionable, quote unquote, to be friends with Russia. So it's a brave act to be here. So let's ditch bureaucracy and let's do what it takes to disseminate our common standpoint, to protect our values together. And we're prepared to do whatever it takes from our side, both from the standpoint of collaborating with universities as well as collaborating with news outlets, as well as news agencies and major organizations engaged in the content dissemination. Please, you're welcome to come talk to us. We're open to collaboration. Russia and Africa will be the proof of that, and the students that we will be bringing together with you. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, please take note. These are not simply words. Believe me, we do our best to ditch the bureaucracy, the red tape, both internally and externally. So for us, of course, documents are important, but people and your hearts and your emotions are what matters to us. So I'm sure you see and feel that we help you grow and prosper. Believe me, this is the message that has always been there in our collaboration, in our cooperation pattern since the Soviet Union times. The Russia-Africa Summit, the main message of that summit will be that we do want to restore the relations in terms of how we can help you from a humanitarian standpoint, the media, an educational standpoint. So the media dialogue will be there, and I'm happy that our colleagues have been engaged in this very heavily. So I think we should move on to the next speaker, but prior to doing this, I'd like to say that one of the first ones to collaborate with RT was the major Turkish media company. So the person who was Serdar Karagöz, who was in charge of the international broadcasting division, was there, and he's here with us. So after his visit, I thought he was just a diplomatic visit, a politeness visit, but Serdar had eventually sent over some qualified, highly skilled reporters to us. So it's an honor for us to welcome them here and to learn from them. I think it's this Turkish hospitality that tells. So I'm happy that Serdar Karagöz is now in charge of this major, the largest news agency, the major news agency in Turkey, and I take the pleasure in welcoming our friend, the representative of this news agency, and the person that Serdar recommended to me as being one of the best journalists globally. And let me give the floor to Yunus because he wanted to actually introduce that person to us. So I'd like to first thank Ms. Mayamena, who's head of RT Arabic. And of course, I'd like to say that us being the reporters on the African continent are always open to cooperating with them. And I'd like to now give the floor to Erman Yüksel, who's editor-in-chief for foreign language news department of Anadolu news agency in Turkey. The coordination work is, I'm thankful for you for the coordination of this important meeting and this important session. It's a very fruitful one, and I'm sure, just like in the past time, I think it's going to be fruitful. So, us being a news agency, and for us, it's a very important and valuable partner, the Kazan partner, and we're happy to contribute. And this is why we keep track. Despite the difficult times we're undergoing in Turkey, the election times, we found the time to sit down with our friends and colleagues and to share information and to learn something new from our colleagues. I think it's very important. Just like you said, it's the 103rd anniversary that we're celebrating now. We're one of the backbone news agencies, one of the major ones from a global standpoint, and we have extensive experience. If you look at the map, I don't think you'll find a place where we hadn't been. We broadcast in 13 languages, including the Russian languages, English, and Arabic. Of course, this experience, like I said, we have accentuated this collaboration. This emphasis is important. There are nuances as to how we should collaborate. What specific steps do we have to take? There are certain specific mechanisms that we have to build, and we believe that there should be some practical thoughts, practical ideas, and that it must be reciprocal, it must be mutually beneficial, that we have specific projects represented. And so each organization, each entity, you and I, that operates in Russia, as well as coordinators and representatives, it's important that they have certain, let's say, editor boards at the level of editors-in-chief or other, so the people that are true professionals, reporters and journalists, on an annual, weekly basis, by setting up meetings, discussions, and thereby we can exchange ideas and projects so that they can result into specific projects. I think it'll be useful to us. It's not necessarily important to come and hold offline meetings, real meetings, but we can convene 1, 2 or 3 times a year, but we can conduct online meetings, and we can intensify this work in order to share and to come up with specific steps that would follow these discussions in different languages, so to ensure that journalists speaking different languages come and talk. We have Russian-speaking editors-in-chief. We have Russian-speaking editors and reporters. We have in Ankara. We have reporters speaking different languages, and French-speaking journalists in Tunisia. So in certain areas we can contribute at a certain level. So once a year, to be specific, more specific, several times a year, we see it's important. But this cooperation should be on a day-to-day basis. We should be intensified on a daily and weekly basis, and we pay a lot of attention to that. In addition, there are special topics that suggest regular conferences, i.e. some hot topics, let's say Islamophobia, especially over the past, and recently, the Russophobia that has been on the rise lately. This is something we must discuss. We should talk about the content here. We should talk about practical steps. They should be ensured from us being the news agency recommend this highly. I would also like to comment that it is especially over the recent weeks and months, there's been hostility against Russia, and this hostile sentiment, as well as, so of course we're responsible, and we being part of the news agenda, the global news agenda, we must also represent and show the world in both Russian, English, Turkish languages, and so these economic opportunities that we have, we should ensure them. We should leverage them, because it seems that it seems like there's bloodshed and war going on, but we should represent. We should show more successes. We should show the potential, and we should make sure that people hear and know about this. We can jointly do that by tighter and more intense cooperation. We should build this mechanism. Us being the news agency, would like to bring more contribution to this end, and we take pride in this. I'd like to emphasize that I wish you all the successful and fruitful discussion, and thank you very much for this.
First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Reman for his agreement to accept this proposal, and we would like to thank him for his support of the forum, with the results of which we want to join the world, and for his proposal to improve cooperation between the countries by organizing different forums. We consider that this is one of the most important goals and objectives of the Union of Information Agencies, and we really consider this that this is very important. This can be discussed online. We don't have to meet face to face. We only need Mr. Erman to meet once a year, and we welcome this idea. We really want to cooperate with the Anadolu Information Agency in such questions of Islamophobia, which is one of our main targets at OIC, is to is to have more forums dedicated to Islamophobia. Of course, there will be more sessions dedicated to this phenomenon, the phenomenon of the contribution made by Anadolu in this question. Thank you very much, and we would like to thank Mr. Yunus for answering the questions that were immediately asked, and thank you for giving us the mechanisms of implementation of what has been said so far. Probably we will start working tonight. Maya said we have no time for preparations. Now, there is no time like now. So let us start with this one. And I'm glad to give the floor to our next speaker, the speaker representing who has helped us to start this implementation process, the process of implementing dialogue between Russia and the Islamic world for quite a long time ago. The epitome of cooperation with this organization was the forum, the event that we held in December of 2022, based on the international informational agency Sputnik. Russia Today, a media group, and Sputnik Information Agency. They're so young and they're changing their brand. So, it gives me pleasure to give the floor to someone without whom this meeting could not have taken place. We wouldn't have been acquainted with Erman Bey, and we wouldn't have known anything about anything of today if it were not for the head of Department of International Cooperation in the media group, Asya Samoilova. I would like to thank her for her invaluable support and her role in the event that we've organized. Thank you. First, I would like to thank the organizers of this session. This is my second time in Kazan at your invitation, and I'm really impressed at the way the Kazan Forum is growing from year to year, and both in general and from the side of media cooperation. I am not very good at saying nice words. I'm a very practical person, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Of how we cooperate with international mass media and universities. And the practicalities are an organic continuation of established long-term relations and the development of relations with Islamic mass media has always been a priority for us. At the moment, we have around 20 documents signed in our portfolio. Mainly, these are memoranda on cooperation with VIM Informational Agency from UAE, APS from Algeria, MAB from Morocco, ERNA from Iran. Our cooperation is built on along many formats, but I would like to dwell on two valuable points. First is the content exchange. Maya spoke about this quite a lot, and this is very logical for mass media to give your content and to take some content from others. The important thing is to want to obtain information firsthand without turning to third parties. Since the year 2021, we've been implementing a project of mutual exchange of information and uploading of information to the terminals of one another. We do it with MAB, with SPA, and with IRNAN. And the same they're doing for their own journalists. A very good thing here is that we have the APS, the French Arabic news ticker. Next project is the Sputnik Pro. It has been implemented by our project. These are a series of trainings for young journalists, university students whose major is journalism, and all other interested persons. People who want to learn more about journalism are very welcome. This is a valuable project for us because by answering the questions of our students, we learn more about the thoughts and realities of the media world in other countries. And we believe that this is how we build the bridges between journalists in various countries. Starting in 2016, we had more than 50 journalists in Moscow under this project from 15 countries worldwide, including Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Turkey, Lebanon, and UAE. Another clear example is our involvement in the project of 2018, the delegation of Ministry of Information of Saudi Arabia, who spent 3 weeks with us, and it was a very interesting experience both for us and for them. Of course, a big challenge here was the pandemic, but we managed to reformat our activities, and starting from the summer of 2020, over 70 sessions of Sputnik Pro went online. It was very pleasant for me to hear the comment of Anna about universities. We really have to work with universities, and believe me, we do. And our project was joined by some leading universities in Indonesia, the Veteran University and Udayana University. Besides, our educational project is looking for new formats. In the UAE, we are cooperating with the VAM information agency, and we had a cross-project with them. VAM helped us to make a presentation on the journalism faculty at the UAE University, and we organized the lecture of the general director of VAM at the Moscow State University of International Relations in Moscow. Luckily, we were able to renew our project in offline format, and after 2 years of hiatus, we had several journalists from Saudi Arabia, and we were glad to start to resume our cooperation with some journalists from the Islamic country. About 2 days ago, on the 15th of May, we ran the first training session for the Union of Broadcasters of the OIC. It was dedicated to podcasts, and we were joined by 27 journalists from 10 countries of the Islamic world. And for the year 2023, we're planning 3 more lectures like this. I can go on for a long time about our past projects, but it's time we look into the future. What I would like to do today is for our representative of UNA to organize lectures for UNA representatives. There is no time like now. There is no time like the present. So let's organize this. Thank you, Asia. I heard a lot about your projects, and I thank you for your participation to work with us. But I think a good idea would be to run a separate project on the separate meeting on completed projects, and to draw some conclusions on the things we already covered. Maybe we can meet up online and discuss things like this is what we've done and this is what you've done. Let's join some projects and let's streamline them in the direction that we really need. So thank you, Asa, for sharing your experience, and thank you for your readiness to help. Thank you very much to Ms. Samoilova for organizing a conference. As suggested by Dr. Erman Bey, we can now start qualifying some people online to get together, and to Sputnik can start presenting their projects and the experience of their preparation. to prepare young journalists online. We are glad to embrace these ideas, and we will be glad to follow them. In the nearest future, we will be able to discuss them, and we'll discuss what problems we might have. Right now, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Zaman Rezhani, Director for International Relations of the Iran National News Agency. So he's not joining us offline, but he will join us online.
Can you hear me, sir? Sir, can you hear me?
Please, you can start. We're listening to you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Rezhani. You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, please, you can start.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I really feel pleasured and privileged to have a chance to speak in this conference. Thank you very much. Regarding the history of Russian media cooperation with countries in Asia and the Middle East, I would like to share IRNA's experience of working with Russian media first, and at the end, I'm going to put forward a proposal which might be helpful. Actually, IRNA has close cooperations with several media in Russia, including TASS News Agency and Sputnik News Agency especially, and we have both bilateral relations and relations through the framework of news alliances. One of the most famous news alliances in Asia is the Organization of Asia Pacific News Agencies, within which we have close cooperation with TASS News Agency and Sputnik News Agency. I can categorize these types of news agencies into two classifications. I would say we have more traditional cooperation, like exchange of ideas, exchange of delegates, exchange of news. And we also have more innovative kinds of cooperation, if you will, if we can talk, like holding video conferences, which is a more innovative type of cooperation among the media, or holding joint photo exhibitions. Holding video conferences is like selecting specific viral hot topics which are beneficial for both sides, and our specialists talk about them, and we make media products of those video conferences. We find it very useful because we need different types of products, not only traditional types of media product, but also modern types. Joint photo exhibition is very useful because it is influential. We share photos of specific topic, and we hold the exhibition at the same time with the same topic. My proposal is that we can make it multilateral cooperation. Not only, for example, if we hold a video conference with Sputnik News Agency, we can make it trilateral cooperation or multilateral cooperation. Other countries in Asia, in the Middle East specifically, they can join us, and we can find common topics which might be useful for all of us. And it can be a good experience if my colleagues agree. We can test this multilateral type of cooperation. This is my proposal, and thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas.
Я очень благодарна. Translation over there, is that correct? Я думаю, что наши
I think that our audience and the people who join us online, I'm afraid our new users only hear the original speech, so I will allow myself. Can you hear us?
for your proposal, and I'm very, very happy that today we have really those people who speak first of all on the practical way. They first of all propose the things that we can implement even immediately. So thank you so much for a very important addition about multilateral format of collaboration. I think it's quite important. So Erman Yüksel raised the question about mechanisms of our future collaboration, but I think it's quite important to think who will be participating, and I think it's a very important thing just to maybe think about those formats that we are implementing now in politics, like Astana format, for instance, to have this multilateral collaboration also in media sphere. Thank you so much. Я очень рада за предложение по многостороннему сотрудничеству и привлечению.
Indeed, I would like to reiterate, and I have had this thought, there isn't any region that is not connected to any other region. So by inviting someone from one region, we're really interested to have people from other regions as well. And maybe in that way, we will make the world a slightly better place. I hope that I would like to ask Dinara to pronounce her main impressions on today's dialogue and on the specific proposals that you as a professional would find useful to implement. Well, first of all, I would like to say a couple of things about working with students. A lot has been said about Africa by Maya, and so I think that working with students is very interesting in any project. Working with young people from Central Asia is very important for myself. I was born in Kyrgyzstan, and I see the way that young people are getting involved in various grants, how they create their own media, and I don't want to say that it's needed to intercept these sources of influence, but I think that we need to exercise our own influence on those young people, and we have all the prerequisites to do so. Those include the traditional Muslim countries, traditional Islamic countries, where the struggle for the hearts and minds is in progress. And I think that together with the countries of OIC and with UNA, we will be able to prepare something and to make use of it in that region. I think it will be quite useful for the young people there. So that's my first point. I know that Sputnik Pro is doing some very active forays into these countries, but I don't think that's enough. We need to do more. this is as much as concerns the civilizational wars that Maya has referred to. Indeed, we know about that. We are quite inventive and we're quite flexible, actually. We are standing for traditional values and we can help the young people to develop. Second of all, another point that I would like to reiterate. When I spoke about Raptly, I spoke about 3,000 journalists worldwide and preparing materials for us. So what we're trying to do, they are not our employees, but they are our true friends. They are delivering information to us, and they get this information in some very harsh conditions sometimes. So what we're trying to do is to create a community for them in which they will be able not only to make videos and get some money, but also to develop professionally, to communicate with one another. This is indeed a community of colleagues which might expand and develop and to bring the use to one another, to help exchange the experience and to grow professionally. So yes, this is one more direction that I consider important, and I believe, I am a firm believer that this will be useful for us. But the main thing that I would like to draw as a conclusion, I'm completely delighted to be here in Kazan. I thank you for, I would like to thank TAT Media, and I am delighted from all the people I met here. Yesterday we said that the world is changing due to the people who care, who are not indifferent. But several hours together will bring about some incredible results. So in the future, these things will change the world. Thank you very much.
في البداية نشكر السيدة دينارا على
First of all, I would like to thank Dinara for her kind words in this comment and for the effort and for the effort she makes to spread the information around the world. Spread the information in a matter of minutes. Of course, we support your proposal to create the forum. We support the idea of Iranian news agency. We bring together people and we bring together states. To bring together different countries, it's enough to organize the unions of agencies. Thereby we will be able to discuss the ideas which would be helpful by all countries, which could be implemented by these countries. And all of this can be achieved by running such forums. Now I think it's high time to move to wind up this session, and I would like to give the floor to Mohammed Al-Yami, the head of the Union of Informational Agencies of OIC, to pronounce a couple of ideas, to pronounce some ideas that this session has resolved to do, and we would like to pronounce the resolutions of these sessions. This will be the crowning moment of our meeting, and we would like to thank all of our session here. We have a little bit of a technical moment, and I would like to thank UNA for giving such a prompt reaction to our work. And even before our meeting has ended, the UNA has written down some specific proposals. So we propose running regular forums between the representative OIC and Russia, strengthen the informational exchange between the informational agencies of Russia and OIC, specifically in the field of cultural heritage, tolerance, and so on. Carry on working on joint platforms, including platforms on economy, finance, tourism, and other specific areas of work which deal with economic interaction between Russia and OIC, strengthening the cooperation between mass media in Russia and OIC in parts concerning the traditional values, to activate the journalist translation between Russia and OIC, activation of memoranda and enforcement of memoranda signed between Russia and OIC, specifically in part of training and improving qualification of journalists. And finally, creation of the general format for standing cooperation between our organizations, strengthening of investments in the field of mass media between Russia and the Islamic world, strengthen mutual cooperation and professional links between Russia and OIC, activation of historical interaction between the countries by providing educational grants both in Russia and OIC countries. Just a second. Creation of forums to fight Islamophobia. These are some of the recommendations that were pronounced during this session, and I thank you very much. I want to give the floor to someone very, very special. This is a key person in the interaction between Russia and Egypt, interaction in the informational, economic, scientific, cultural spheres. I would like to take just 30 seconds of your time by saying the following. There was a suggestion of running forums to fight Islamophobia. Last March, I was in Moscow with a visit, and we had a decision to create the international movement for Russophilia. There is not only Islamophobia, there is also Russophobia. This is an extraordinary situation which has not been seen by humankind. The Western world is trying to cancel out the Russian culture, and this cannot be done. There will be no world without the Russian culture. So I suggest that the representatives of mass media to reject this phenomenon, which goes from the United States and from America, to write about this, to cover this. 42 countries are taking part in it in March last year, and it's called the International Movement for Russophilia. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharif. I think that this is a very important proposal, and I am really, really thankful to all of our speakers for having such a practical session today. Thanks to your engagement, we had some very specific proposals. Create a club to formalize our meetings and make them regular, to make them truly frequent, once a month, once a year, once a quarter, and so on. to develop mechanisms of implementation of our cooperation. They can be set up on the basis of various organizations, mechanisms of cooperation in educational sphere. It was supported by Anadolu, by Sputnik, by UNA, by RT, Raptly. Sorry if I missed someone, but those were the organizations who are ready to cooperate with us in this sphere. Also, we are going to work on expanding the footprint of our work. Indonesia, Central Asia, Africa, all these are the regions that are very important for us. They have no less importance than other regions of the planet. And I think that this is the main message to take away home. Respect to all the geography in the world. Respect professionally. And since we are journalists and representatives of media, and media stands for intermediaries. We should be intermediaries in restoring human contact and human touch. So the topic that we are working with, media diplomacy at the moment, I think it was very important. You are diplomats from mass media. Thank you very much for coming here. Thank you very much for being with us, and I would like to thank our organizers for inviting us. I would like to thank our participants. Mohamed Al-Yami, Aydar Salim Garaev, Wadji Sidze, Farid Mohamed Shin, Yunus Inayat, Timur Shafir, Satar Jiyad, Najah Nisawi, Madeh Abdullawi, Dinara Taktasunova, Maya Manna, Arman Yüksel, Asa Samuelova, Zaman Rizahani. And I would like now I would like to give a special thanks from our mass media for the organization of the entire process of our work here, and to give a few minutes to TAT Media. We will have our ceremony that we promised at the very outset of our session today. So TAT Media and UNA decided to give a very special surprise to us all. I would ask for a radio microphone if possible. Because the main people here will be two very special people who will coordinate our cooperation in the informational sphere in practice. So we are starting the ceremony of signing the Memorandum of Cooperation on development and strengthening of bilateral professional cooperation in the field of information between the Union of News Agencies, OIC, and the Republican News Agency for Press and Mass Communication, TAT Media. To sign the memorandum, I'm honored to invite the Acting General Secretary of the UNA OIC, Mohamed Al-Yami, and the head of the and Edgar Salim Garaev, head of external relations at TAT Media. Dear colleagues, believe me, we are signing the memorandum even though not all cameras are on us. TAT Media, you are so special. Even to sign the memorandum, they found some very inconspicuous spot in our hall, because the important thing is their guests. But I really want to give them a round of applause. Let us thank our organizer, UNA and TAT Media.
Ну все, теперь уже у
So now it's official. This deserves an applause. Because being giving a tubete is the same as being giving an order.
Это то, что я подарил, это
What I give you as present is the tubete is the national headgear of Tatarstan. It is embroidered with national ornament, the flower that is growing in the name of Allah. So it has a very special significance. And the book that was printed by us. Last year we celebrated a very important celebration, 1,100 years of Islam in Russia. And this book was dedicated to how this celebration took place.
هذه الهدايا أولا عليها الرمز للالي التوليب، لأن التوليب هذا الرمز الأساسي للأفكار يعني العميقة الصوفية الإسلامية.
This tubete has the name of our Lord, and it reflects our very special attitude to this thing. The second gift is the book on celebrating the 1100 years of Islam in Russia. It is our pleasure to give you this book as a token of friendship for good memories of this event.
تذكاري من اتحاد وكالات أنباء دول منظمة التعاون.
We would like to give the memorial plaque of the UNA, of the OIC, thank the TET Media Informational Agency, which organized this forum, and this is just a very modest token of friendship to remind you about our gratitude in the very important job that you do, and as an appreciation of organizing this forum. And now we would like to give one more plaque to the director of Raptly, to Dinara Toktosunova. This memorial plaque, we signed a memorandum on cooperation online in the year 2022 in Moscow, and now we are glad to bring this plaque, this shield, to strengthen the cooperation between Raptly and the UAE OIC. Thank you.
Thank you. نقدم الدرع الثالث
The third memorial plaque will be given to Anna Belikova, the specialist for strategic relations between Russia and the Arabic world, who spared no effort in strengthening and developing these relations. This memorial field is to exemplify our gratitude. In conclusion, we would like to thank all the representatives of mass media, Your Excellency, all those present for being with us, and Lord be praised. We will continue communication to implement all the resolutions of this session. We will be glad to continue talking to you via email, via social networks. Of course, you will be able to find tweets in Arabic, Russian, and French. All the speaking points, all the points of our speakers will be available there as well. And we will also have a press release which will be prepared by the Russian counterparty, and it will be sent to all the parties so that you will be able to start your practical steps to implement those resolutions which we made on this forum. Besides, we would like to draw your attention that as the Union of News Agencies, we welcome all information that will be sent to our digital platform, which publishes the information on in more than 20 languages. And in this way, this platform will be the first international platform on disseminating the information of news in an objective, unbiased way, so that we will be able to communicate together to combat the fake news and to transfer the word of kindness to all the countries of the world. And I would like to thank you with that. I think that many people have removed their headsets now, but specifically, UNA is already reporting the work they've done. In more than 20 languages, they published these news, and you can see the broadcasts of presentations by our colleagues. This is an unprecedented session. Tatmedia, you've done something extremely good. You made us work. Thank you very much. Let's continue informally. Thank you.